Welcome to another deep dive.
Okay.
This time, we're going to be talking about The Women by Kristen Hanna.
Oh, yeah, I love this book.
It's a powerful story, and we're going to be taking a look at it in detail today.
I'm excited.
So The Women is set during the Vietnam War.
Such a fascinating and tumultuous period.
Right, and the story follows the journey of a young woman named Frankie McGrath.
A really compelling protagonist.
We first meet Frankie in 1966
Yeah.
on Coronado Island, California.
A world away from the battlefields of Vietnam.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like this idyllic setting.
Right.
White gloves, garden parties.
Very sheltered upbringing.
Yeah, Frankie comes from this conservative military family.
A stark contrast to the realities she's about to face.
And her brother, Finley,
Yeah.
well, he enlists to fight in Vietnam.
A decision that changes everything for Frankie.
So at Finley's farewell party,
Okay.
this pivotal moment happens.
Hmm.
Someone says, women can be heroes too.
It's almost like a challenge.
And that statement, it just completely changes the course of Frankie's life.
Wow.
She decides to join the Army Nurse Corps.
A bold decision.
She goes from debutante balls
Yeah.
to the horrors of war.
Talk about a culture shock.
It's a huge shift. So what does Hannah emphasize about Frankie's arrival in Vietnam?
Well, the book doesn't hold back on the brutality of it all.
Yeah.
She's immediately confronted with just devastating injuries.
Oh, wow.
The horrors of napalm.
It's just unimaginable.
And the constant threat of death.
It's so far from what she probably expected.
Definitely. It shatters any illusions she might have had about war.
So her nursing training back home,
Right.
it couldn't have prepared her for any of this.
Not even close. The book really highlights how inadequate Frankie's initial training is. But she's thrown into this crucible surrounded by chaos and suffering.
And she adapts.
She has to. She becomes this incredibly skilled and resilient trauma nurse.
Well, almost out of necessity.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if those skills were always there. Just lying dormant, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge.
I mean, it's horrific circumstances, but still,
Right.
It makes you think about the strength we all have within us.
Definitely. The capacity for resilience is amazing.
So I'm curious about the other nurses Frankie meets in Vietnam.
Oh, there's such a diverse group of women.
Okay.
Each with their own complexities.
What are their stories like?
Well, you have Barb, this tough, no-nonsense nurse who becomes Frankie's mentor.
Oh,
She's seen it all, done it all, and teaches Frankie how to stitch faster than death.
Wow.
Her character really embodies that grit and determination so many women in the war had to develop.
Stitch faster than death. That's such a powerful image.
Isn't it?
And then there's Ethel,
Yes.
who faces not really the horrors of war,
Right.
but also racism from some of her fellow soldiers.
It's a sad reality that Hannah doesn't shy away from.
It's disheartening that even in a situation like that, prejudice still exists.
Absolutely. But Ethel's character is so compelling because she refuses to be defined by either the war or the racism.
Right.
There's a line where she says, "They'll hate me until they're bleeding out, then I'm their goddamn angel."
Wow.
It speaks volumes about her resilience and dedication to her duty.
It's just amazing how strong these women are. So despite their differences, it seems like they formed a deep bond with one another.
Oh, absolutely. The camaraderie, the shared laughter and grief, the way they lean on each other for support.
Yeah.
It all underscores this profound theme of sisterhood that runs throughout the book.
It's like they became each other's family.
Exactly. A lifeline in the face of unimaginable suffering.
And even amidst all this horror, Frankie finds a glimmer of, I don't know if normalcy is the right word,
Maybe not.
but she connects with a soldier named Rye Walsh.
Ah, yes, right.
He's a friend of Frankie's brother,
Right.
and their relationship is intense.
It is.
It offers Frankie a temporary escape from the horrors around them.
A chance to experience love and intimacy in a world where those things feel so fragile.
It's like seeking refuge in the eye of the storm.
A good way to put it.
But I'm sensing there's more to their relationship.
There is.
It's a bit complicated, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. As the story unfolds, we discover a betrayal.
Oh, no.
That really cuts deep.
I can imagine.
It makes you question trust and loyalty.
Especially in a setting like that.
Exactly. But I think we should save that conversation for when we dive into Frankie's return home.
You're right. Let's hold that thought for now and delve into what happens when Frankie comes back to the States in 1969.
A whole new set of challenges awaits her.
I can only imagine the difficulties she faced coming home to a divided America.
Yeah, 1969 was a turbulent time.
It was.
The country was deeply divided over the Vietnam War.
Right.
And returning veterans often faced a hostile reception.
It's hard to believe.
Especially those who served in Vietnam.
I mean, to go from risking your life for your country to being vilified by your own people.
It's just...
How does Frankie even begin to process that?
It's rough. She returns home expecting some semblance of normalcy.
You'd think so, right?
Maybe even a hero's welcome, but instead...
Oh, no.
She's met with protesters spitting on her, calling her a baby killer.
Oh, God, that's awful.
It's a brutal awakening to the realities of a war that had become deeply unpopular back home.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So how does her family react?
Sadly, not much better.
Really?
Driven by shame and societal pressure, Frankie's parents actually pretend she's been studying abroad.
You're kidding.
They perpetuate this lie.
Wow.
To avoid the stigma associated with having a daughter who served in Vietnam.
That's terrible.
Especially a daughter who saw combat.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
It is to be rejected by your own family.
After everything she's been through.
It's isolating. And on top of all that, Frankie's also grappling with PTSD.
Oh, of course.
She has nightmares, flashbacks, fits of anger.
She's carrying so much.
All this unseen baggage.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have the support system she needs to process it.
So the book is really highlighting the lack of understanding and resources available to veterans at that time.
Absolutely. Especially women.
When Frankie reaches out to the VA for help, what then?
It's just unbelievable. She's met with disbelief and dismissal.
Oh, no.
There's this chilling scene where a doctor at the VA questions if she's menstruating.
Seriously?
Implying that her trauma is simply a hormonal issue.
That's outrageous.
They even deny her combat status, claiming that there were no women in Vietnam.
Oh, my God.
It's like a double erasure.
Right.
Her service is dismissed and her very presence in Vietnam is denied.
How does she even cope with that?
Sadly, she turns to alcohol and pills to numb the pain.
It's a downward spiral.
It is. It leads to a failed engagement, a devastating miscarriage, and the ultimate betrayal by Rye.
Oh, Rye. That must have been so painful.
Given that he was one of the few people who seemed to understand what she was going through.
Yeah, so this downward spiral, it doesn't go on forever, does it?
Thankfully not.
Okay.
It takes hitting rock bottom and overdose that lands her in a psychiatric facility.
Oh, wow.
For Frankie to finally receive a diagnosis of PTSD.
It's a diagnosis that comes far too late.
It does. But it's a start.
So this hospitalization is like a turning point.
It is.
What happens next?
She decides to leave everything behind and make a fresh start in Missoula, Montana.
Montana.
Yeah.
That's quite a change.
It's a world away from the beaches of Coronado Island and the battlefields of Vietnam.
What draws her to Montana?
I think she's seeking solace and healing in those wide open spaces.
I can see that.
A sense of freedom and anonymity that she couldn't find in California.
So what does she do there?
She buys a rundown farmhouse and begins the arduous process of rebuilding her life.
That sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is.
So she's taking on this farmhouse.
Yeah.
What does she do with it?
She transforms it into what she calls the Last Best Place Ranch.
The Last Best Place Ranch.
A sanctuary specifically for female veterans like herself.
Wow. What a beautiful and fitting name.
It is.
So she's not only rebuilding her own life,
Right.
but creating a space for other women to do the same.
Yeah. Exactly. A place where they can come together, share their stories, and heal from the invisible wounds of war.
Without judgment.
Without judgment. Without the need to pretend they're okay.
Does she find the healing she's seeking at the ranch?
She does. Slowly but surely, brick by brick, Frankie starts to reclaim her life.
That's great to hear.
She rediscovers her passion for nursing, using her skills to help other women who are struggling with their own invisible scars.
She's taking her trauma and turning it into a force for good.
Yeah. Offering solace and support to those who understand her pain firsthand.
There's a certain poetry in that.
There is.
So Frankie's found a purpose in Montana.
She has.
But Hannah doesn't end the story there, does she?
No. There's another pivotal moment in the book that takes place in 1982.
Okay.
Frankie travels to Washington, D.C. for the unveiling of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
The wall.
Yeah.
That must have been so powerful.
It's a moment fraught with emotion, a chance for her to finally honor her brother, her fallen friends, and her own service.
And for Frankie, it's also a moment of profound personal significance.
It is. She encounters Jamie.
Jamie?
A skilled surgeon she served with in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
She believed he was dead, another casualty of the war.
But he's alive.
But there he is, standing before her, very much alive.
That's incredible. What does this reunion mean for Frankie after everything she's been through?
It's a symbol of hope, a reminder that even amidst the deepest despair, life can surprise you.
Yeah.
Jamie represents a connection to a time when Frankie felt a sense of purpose and belonging.
It sounds like they have the potential to help each other heal.
Right, to find solace in their shared understanding of the past.
But it's not a simple fairy tale ending, is it?
Not at all. Hannah doesn't shy away from the complexities of their relationship.
Okay.
It's a testament to her skill as a writer that she doesn't offer easy answers or tidy resolutions.
So what happens to Frankie and Jamie?
Their future is left somewhat open-ended, suggesting that healing is an ongoing process, not a destination.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Trauma doesn't just disappear overnight. It takes time, work, and a willingness to confront the past.
And sometimes, even with all that, there's still scars that remain.
But even in those scars, there can be beauty and strength.
Absolutely. And I think that's the ultimate takeaway from The Women.
What is it?
It's a story about the enduring power of hope, the transformative potential of love and connection, and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity.
So what stood out to you most about Frankie's journey back home?
What resonated with you on a deeper level? You know what gets me? It's her resilience. Like, she faces just unimaginable horrors in Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
And then comes home to a country that doesn't understand or appreciate her sacrifice.
Right.
Even her own family rejects her.
I know.
And yet she finds a way not just to survive, but to create a space for healing.
Yeah, for herself.
For herself and other women veterans.
And it makes you think about like all those women who served in Vietnam and how their stories were often silenced.
Their sacrifices minimized.
Like Hannah's novel gives voice to these unsung heroes.
Right. It forces us to confront the societal expectations and prejudices they face.
Like, remember that scene with the VA doctor?
Oh, yeah.
Asking Frankie if she's menstruating.
Dismissing her PTSD as like a hormonal issue.
It's infuriating.
It's a stark reminder of how women's experiences were often invalidated and medicalized.
And then they deny her combat status entirely.
It's a double injustice.
A complete erasure of her experience.
And it highlights the importance of the Last Best Place Ranch.
As a sanctuary.
As a space where these women can finally be seen and heard.
Yeah.
Where they don't have to pretend to be okay.
They can finally be themselves.
Share their stories, their pain, and their triumphs without judgment.
It's a testament to the power of community.
And the healing that can happen when people feel truly understood.
And it's interesting how Hannah uses the ranch as like a microcosm of the larger societal issues at play.
Frankie's struggles with PTSD, her battle with addiction, the way she's treated by the VA.
It all reflects the challenges faced by countless veterans.
Especially women.
It's a reminder that the scars of war run deep.
They do.
And that healing takes time, support, and understanding.
Absolutely.
And it's also a story about resilience.
Yeah. The enduring strength of the human spirit.
Despite everything she goes through, Frankie never gives up.
She does.
On herself or the other women she's trying to help.
She finds a way to channel her pain into something positive.
Creating a legacy of healing and hope.
That extends far beyond her own personal journey.
And you know, speaking of legacies, we talked about Frankie reuniting with Jamie.
Yeah, at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
What's the significance of that reunion?
Especially in the context of her healing.
All right.
Well, it symbolizes hope and renewal. A reminder that even amidst immense loss, life can surprise you.
And Jamie represents
a connection to a time when Frankie felt a sense of purpose and belonging.
So they can help each other heal.
They can find solace in their shared understanding of the past.
But it's not like a happily ever after ending, right?
Not at all. Hannah doesn't offer easy answers or tidy resolutions.
So what happens to them?
Their future is left open-ended, suggesting that healing is an ongoing process, not a destination.
That feels very realistic.
It does.
Trauma doesn't just vanish.
Right.
It takes time, work, and a willingness to confront the past.
And sometimes even with all that, there are still scars that remain.
But even in those scars, there can be beauty and strength.
I think that's the ultimate takeaway from The Women.
It's a story about hope, love, connection, and resilience.
In the face of unimaginable adversity.
It's a story that stays with you.
It does.
It makes you think about the untold stories, the silenced voices, and our responsibility to listen and learn.
And to honor the sacrifices of those who have served.
Both on the battlefield and on the home front.
Well said.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into Kristen Hanna's The Women.
What a powerful book.
We hope you found this exploration insightful and thought-provoking.
And if Frankie's story resonated with you, I encourage you to seek out other narratives of resilience.
Other voices that challenge our assumptions and broaden our understanding of history.
There are countless stories out there waiting to be heard.
Stories that can inspire, inform, and empower us.
Absolutely.
Be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more deep dives into captivating and complex topics.
Until next time.
Until next time.